what's going on? I know it's like very late, because for me it's like, what, 6 o'clock? I should have like started streaming at like 3 p.m., but it's a bit lazy. I was doing other stuff, so we're here now, obviously, but I just wanted to stream earlier. So I'll try to stream later tonight. Why is she here already? Oh my god. Why? Why, man? Come on. Okay, we'll push through it. Just why? Alright. First we'll get to I think we'll get to the hurricane thing first. Actually, I'll put a poll in chat just in case anyone wants to ask questions. Because I know people like questions. Because you guys might have something important to ask me. Now, I can look pretty much anywhere in the world if you guys want. Just refresh this because it's just not loading. I don't have my mute button, so I have to switch to here. Okay, yeah, that fixes it. So I should be able to see the Q&A section. Just a bit. I can check the Q&A section now. Yeah. Alright, so let's start off with East Pacific. Not the East Pacific. Yeah. Start off with East Pacific. We'll talk about Hillary first. The other storms here are gone. Fernanda, and I believe Greg are off the screen or have dissipated by now. And only Hillary's our only real issue right now. But it's a big problem because it's going to go up this way. Just got to get the drawing marker out here. It's going to go up this way and skirt along the coast and then move inland. So it should weaken as it does so. So it will slowly weaken as it moves along this track, like slowly. So once it crosses like this line, it should slowly weaken because it's running out of warm water that it can use. So it's just slowly weaken as it moves north, but it's going to be moving pretty fast. It's not going to weaken down too quickly. It should still be there by the time. So it should still be pretty strong by the time it gets to like this part of Baja California, and still be a tropical storm when it gets up to actual California, Southern California. Main like key messages though. We'll get to the key messages. Look on Hillary. We'll get to key messages. So heavy rainfall with Hillary will advance to center from Baja California into southwestern United States. Preparations for impacts of flooding rainfall should be completed as soon as possible. Heavy rain will increase ahead of the center on Saturday. And in the southwestern United States, which is over here, this area, and then points farther north. Preparations for the flash flooding, urban and arroyo flooding is expected, with potential for danger to catastrophic. So this is mainly due to the 6 to 10 inches of rain that's coming from the storm itself. So even though the storm is weakening as it moves up, it's still gonna bring a lot of moisture that's gonna come into this area as the storm moves north. So that's going to start filling. It's going to start filling in this area, and that's going to cause rain over the desert of southeastern California, western Arizona, across this area, and southern California. Cause a lot of rain. That's why there's a high risk here. Leaves us for 6 to 10 inches of rain, and most of this is 48 inches of rain over a desert. So, and it's pretty mountainous. So any rain that does fall is going to run off pretty quickly. Hey Don, what's going on? Mom just came home, but I'll try to push the weather update anyway because it's important. Hurricane conditions are expected within portions of hurricane warning area. So as the storm was close, as Hillary moves closer to moves north, it should get pretty close to Baja California. So when it's here, it should be around a Category 1 hurricane, as it's pretty close to the coast, and the strong wind will be on the eastern side of the storm, so it will be on this side. So as it moves, so as the storm moves this way, get a different color. As the storm moves like up here on this side, there's still a chance for hurricane force winds. Nothing on the west side, but on the east side, there's still a chance for hurricane force winds. Yeah, sure. You can do that. We can do 1v1s. But yeah, that increases hurricane force winds along the coast as the storm approaches. So the storm will be not too far offshore, so hurricane force winds from the center should be on land, even if the actual storm doesn't make landfall in Baja California. And then the storm will continue to weaken down, and then you'll have tropical storm force winds in Southern California. Now, if it takes the western part of this cone, then that means more impacts for San Diego due to storm surge flooding, as the wind's going to be basically, I think this is like a coastline California, if I were to draw it. Well, Southern California at least. So if the storm moves up like this, on this side of the storm, you're going to have wind pushing in like this. So it's going to pile up the water that would normally be here and pile it up here. Pile it up. Not super high, but it will pile up the water here. So any rain that's falling over like the landmass, for example, any rain that's falling due to a storm that's over here, storms over here due to mountains as well. Any rain that does fall, the ocean's not going to allow it to escape as easily, so that can enhance flooding, as well as the fact that San Diego is basically a city, and Los Angeles is like up here. So this is an urban area, so when water does get down here, it's not going to be able to escape too easily. So if it does, so with how much rain is coming, flooding is going to be really bad in Los Angeles and San Diego. And in the mountains specifically, because especially like this desert area, if the water does like fall in this area, which it will, it's going to pool in the valleys, and that's going to cause a lot of flooding. Since the air's been baking for months, I'll try and do a demonstration. The land is like here. There's mountains in the back. Sometimes even bigger mountains. There's mountains in the back. Got like a canyon here. Yeah, there's mountains in the back. So this land has been basically hot all year. Yeah. Let me increase the size of this. Land's been basically hot all year. So if you add rain to that, or add rain to that, right? Add rain to that. This area down here, the water's going to pile up here because it can't get underneath. So it's going to rush down from like high elevations. And it's going to pool down the valleys because there's nowhere for it to really go. If it's on the mountains, it's going to fall straight down. If it hits the sand is hot. It's been scorched. So this baked earth right here is not going to allow any water from reaching like anything below here. So like show the ground. So like this water can't just like get into the soil. That can't happen because it's baked. So it's just gonna run across like that. Well, let me change color to make it look better. It's gonna instead of going down there, it's gonna run across like that and keep flooding high ground until it fills up the valleys. So it's gonna rain hard in these areas, but that water doesn't have a place to go, so it's just gonna pool in the valley areas, and it's gonna stay there for a while. So if you have, like, say, straw highway, so you have, like, not that, back, so you have like a highway through here. That's not a good highway. So you have like a highway that goes up here, like a highway. Let me draw one. Like a highway that does this. Highway that goes through here. That water can easily wash out parts of the highway if the flooding is bad enough. So that can close down a few highways if the rain overtops it, and then if there's enough like landslides happening due to intense rain, stuff can be shut down for a long time because of that. So this is an issue. Get the rainfall potential for you. We'll look at rainfall before we look at the cone. It is a Cat 4 right now, and it's generating swells down here, but it shouldn't. But the actual wind is mostly going to be in Baja California, the southern part. The rainfall is mostly going to be heavy in California itself. So looking at this graph, it's about, most of the area on this map is 2 to 4 inches. So a large area is from 2 inches to about 6 inches. That's where most people are at, but there's still a good amount of area that has 6 to 10 in these pocket regions, like over here, these pocket regions of mountains. So as the storm comes up this way, no, not like that. That's not how it's coming up. Comes up like this, right? Comes up like that. The wind on this side is just going to push in like that. So when the wind pushes in here, you're just gonna have like a bunch of thunderstorms building in this area. Try and build this as best I can. Bunch of storms in this area as well as storms here along these mountains, and that's going to make sure that the rain pours down in these areas. And then that has to run off somewhere, so it has to fill the valleys through here. So it has to fill the valleys here, or it can run off to the sea. But mostly it's filling valleys in here, and then if it makes the Colorado River, it can go out eventually. Hopefully, if it has like the right position. This is pretty important. It's pretty important for these areas because if you're next to a mountain and you're in a valley, you're probably going to see the worst of the flooding because all the water's going to be piling on top of you. Because if you have a mountain here, say you have a mountain here, if it rains up here, like heavily, it doesn't, like, it could also rain heavily here. But if it rains like heavily in those areas where you're getting that, as the wind pushes up the mountains, like that, then the water's going to pool down here. So whatever is down here is probably going to be submerged in water or washed away until it finds like a deep part of the valley where it just can't drain anymore and just sits there. So when the water does get down there through the valleys, since a lot of this area, the water doesn't drain this way, it gets stuck in this area. Like I believe like here, most of the water in this area gets stuck here. Especially even here. Like most of the water in this area gets stuck here. If it's not following like the Colorado River, or it's not following like one of these rivers in the Central Valley that lead out, It's a terrible river, but we'll use it. So I'm following those rivers, then it's probably just going to get stuck in the valleys before it evaporates off. So this rain's going to stick here a while. So if there is a lot of flooding from the rain, that water's just going to stay there until the sun, like up here, till the sun comes out, and then the intense heat comes back and forces all this water to evaporate and go back up, and then go somewhere else. Also, hey, Dr. Ruby, what's going on? So, going to be very difficult for people in the valleys here, even in the cities, because flooding is always very damaging when it affects people, because it affects your house, affects your house permanently. I'll use a better color. Affects your house because you have water inundation. I know this isn't the best house, but try and make it look good. So, say you have a door there, like a garage here, you have a door here. So in this circumstance, if you have water that's piling up here, you're gonna have water damage and mold down here. And if you're in a valley, this water's probably going to be moving fast. So this house could actually be moving this way or completely collapse if the water's moving too fast. If the water's not moving too fast, then you're going to get the regular water damage, the mold that comes with it. So it's not going to be great to rebuild the house and clean it up afterward. But most likely, due to landslides and stuff, you're going to see a lot more collapsed houses than just flooded out houses. Most likely. That's for now. There's still a lot of rain in Baja California as well. So there's probably going to be flooding in these mountains as well. Maybe not as bad as it is up here, but probably you'll still see flooding here along with stronger winds. The storm's going to be pretty close to land. Since it's doing a track like that, it will be skirting the coastline a lot, so this area's going to feel the wind and the water. So, arrival time of winds, I'll use this as well. So, at Sunday, you're looking at the winds to just start coming near Southern California. But we'll focus down here. So, by tonight, I think this is 8 p.m. Mountain Time, yeah. You'll have winds coming into, at earliest, the southern tip of Baja California. At 2 a.m., this slowly moves up the coastline, and then after Saturday, speeds up. So, I believe the storm has a big wind field radius. If I look at the wind history, yeah. The wind field radius is massive. The wind field radius is very large. I want this color. It's very large. So if the storm parallels the coast like that, then most likely anyone who's on Baja California will be in tropical storm force winds, but they'll have to be near the center to be in these hurricane force winds right here. They have to be near the center to experience this. But for tropical storm force winds, almost everyone's going to experience it up and down. Just that the really ones that really damage property are going to be offshore, going to be just offshore, or on the coastline. So we'll look at the wind speed wind probabilities, and then we'll move to. We could look at Sally actually. That's the storm right there. So there's Hillary right there. Increase the size. Okay, there's Hillary right there. It's a big storm. So I think this is about 5 or 7 degrees of longitude here. So the storm's pretty big. Has this inflow to get the moisture into it, and has outflow that's helping this that came through yesterday. Outflow there, and has outflow do this as well. Again, going towards the equator. So it was at its peak earlier today. It's still still a Category 4 hurricane, but it should be weakening as its convection has gone down as it moves north because there's not enough to sustain it here. So this is its peak intensity, most likely. Still going to be dangerous up here, though. Even if it's weakening, still be a very big issue. So that's basically Hillary for this area. For Baja California, the main issues are going to be wind, storm surge, and heavy rainfall along in the mountains. But as it moves north, closer to California and into the desert southwest, it's mainly going to be a heavier rain threat. And along the coastline or areas near the storm is going to be tropical storm force wind, so damage can occur, but it won't be like stuff further south. That's basically it for Hillary. Hillary discussed. If stuff changes, I'll talk about it more tomorrow, because I think Worm lives here. Yeah, I know Worm's around here, so it's important to him. So I'll try to send this to him later. Speaking of which, I can move on to the Atlantic now. Can move on to the home menu. Yeah, this thing. So this is going to be very interesting. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4 areas of interest. This one right here is a trough. Not a trough. It's a tropical wave, but it's not completely closed off. But it's going to move into the Gulf of Mexico over the next few days. It's going to have a favorable environment to develop. It won't be here too long. If it got its act together here, it'll be able to actually take advantage of the warm water a lot more. But we'll see what happens. Looks to be like a more of a Hannah situation. Because Hannah was a tropical wave in this general area too, and then it started developing in the Gulf. Before it was a Category 1 hurricane when it hit southern Texas, which just seems like it will hit, but we'll keep looking at it. Talk about this in depth, this as well. And these two have higher chances of development as they move up north. But these, I think in the short term, shouldn't impact land. And should weaken down after a certain point because of wind shear. Because you're going to have a tut that builds in here, and that's going to cut across with wind shear like that. So that's going to, when these storms get far enough north, they're not going to be able to really strengthen, even though the water is warm. Even though the water is warm, shear and dry air is going to get to them. This one right here, though, not really, because the tut's up here. Go back. The tropical upper tropospheric trough. It's basically a trough in the upper atmosphere in the tropics. It doesn't bring cold air, but it just brings wind shear. That's going to be here. So the wind shear is going to be up in this region. It's not going to affect where this storm is moving into. It's not really going to affect this area right here. It's more going to be stuff shifted north of that. So it can develop here. It's going to take a long time. It's going to take some time to get it together. I think longer range, we'll look at the model to see how it does. I'll actually look at it now. Phone's a bit slow though. Yeah, Hillary's already down at the bottom of the screen. But I talked about that. I talked about Hillary enough, just as like a timing to see how fast it gets there. It weakens slowly as it goes up the coastline, but it's still bringing heavy rain along with it. And even once it's past California, it's still bringing rain to the inner mountain west before it dissipates. There's that Gulf system, by the way. That's this right here that starts developing later. That is this on the outlook. That's what that is. So we'll look more at that, and we'll zoom out. Go to this. We'll zoom out. We'll go back to current times. This is the first wave, second wave, third wave. This one's pretty large. It tries to do something, but can't really. The first wave moves into the Eastern Caribbean, and it's just there. But not much seems to be happening. You get another one that comes off. of Africa, and then you have another storm trying to build in East Pacific far out into time. So we'll look at it from the this perspective. I think it's this one. No, it's not this one. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. Which one is it? I already forgot. I'm trying to remember which one it actually is. It's not the shear one. We'll get to the shear. So I can use the shear one to explain what's happening. Yeah, there's that tut I was talking about. It's still there. Let's move back into the present day. That's where the tut is right now. The waves are around here. So as that wave gets into the Eastern Caribbean, there's not much. Tut's not really affecting it, but it's affecting that third wave and the second wave. The storm's moving into that. Moves right into it, so it can't do anything. And then there's just more. It's just another tut that builds here as you have a trough that comes off the East Coast, but that's pretty far out. So the wind shear profile looks favorable at the moment. And yeah, and that's that storm. That one has a favorable environment when it's in the Gulf. So if it can get itself together, it can do something. Because the water here is warm. So all it really needs is that for this shear to cooperate and to build its structure, and it can become a tropical storm here pretty easily. It just needs to actually take time to build that structure it needs to actually do something. Because even if you have perfect conditions with like the hot water here, this layout for this layout with the wind shear, and even if I look at like dry air, should be humid there, right? Somewhat. Near the Gulf Coast it's not, so this is inhibiting it somewhat. But it's a good environment. Just say that. It's still gonna take time for that to actually like get itself together. Because it has to get out of the its trough phase. It has to get out of that. Let me actually try and zoom into the Western Atlantic. Like, it needs to get out of its disorganized phase before it can actually do anything. Like, where it is right now, it needs to turn this disorganized piece of energy, where the wind's coming around like this and then bending down, it needs to turn that into a concentric ring. It needs to turn that into that. And then it needs its mid-level center to also do the same thing. If it can get that, then it can intensify quickly. But it needs to get that structure first. If it doesn't get that structure, it's not going to be able to ramp up quickly. So it tries. It moves westward. Brings some rain to Florida. It tries. Gets over the Gulf. And then it attempts doing it as it moves closer to Texas. It attempts. Instead attempt. So it gets a closed off low right as it's hitting land. So it has time to develop. It just matters how early does it do it. Like, does it close off here? Probably won't close off there. But does it close off here? Does it close off here? Like, where it closes off matters because it's actually able to take advantage of what's underneath it by that point. Because if it's still building a structure, it doesn't matter how warm this water is, really, or if the environment is good. That helps it to get the time to organize. But even if you have those those storms that like form out here. Let me actually make that bigger. If you have those storms that turn into Category 5s on like 3 days or something, it needs, at least before that, it needs like a 1 or 2 days of organization. Like even like Ida, I think in 2021, its wave was here. It's out here. It had to take at least 2 to 3 days to get that wave to like a tropical depression status, like right here. And she marked that in blue. It's the tropical depression status like right here. It takes a while to actually get a tropical cyclone to actually organize itself. But once it does do that, it doesn't really take too long before it actually, like, you know, or actually, like, ramps up if it has good conditions. Like this right here, let me actually we'll get this shade of red. And then we'll take it in. I'll use this color again over top of that, and then we'll switch it to this, and then I'll switch it back to blue as we take it up. So, like, even in this type of situation, the storm needs a good amount of time to actually organize that tropical wave. It needs time. It needs time to close off. Like, for example, it needs time to turn a disorganized group of thunderstorms into something. Like, it needs to be able to turn something like, if I can move the clock back, it needs to turn this disorganized group of thunderstorms into something. It needs to consolidate into something that can actually develop, actually take advantage of its surroundings. It needs to get that done first. Once it gets that done, then everything else comes later. Because if it doesn't get this phase done correctly, then the rest of the phases can't happen, because it needs that circulation to wrap around. It needs the structure. If the structure isn't closed, if the thunderstorms aren't on top of the center, and the mid-level circulation is not on top of that, then this intensification is not going to happen. It's just not. It needs to organize first. But then once it does organize, if it gets organized quicker, then it can take advantage of this and get stronger faster. But it has to get organized first. And that dry air is not going to help it, but it has to get organized first. If it can get that, then I think it can do a lot. And I think it could do like a good amount to get like a tropical storm or maybe minimal hurricane. But if it doesn't get that organization done faster, it probably won't have enough time once it gets here. Probably won't have enough time. Not there. I won't have enough time to get to. If you're still having struggles organizing here, then it probably won't be organized by the time it gets here. Like, if it gets organized at this point, then it could be a tropical storm by the time it hits land. But it needs time. Because it only takes 24 hours for a storm to go from a tropical storm to a Category 4 hurricane. But it's going to take at least a few days to get it out of the null phase of where it's doing absolutely nothing into the closed phase, and then everything else after that. So this wave right here, it can develop, but it's going to need time to organize first. So I don't see it becoming too strong unless it organizes faster than expected. So it has the resources there, it just needs to organize itself to keep the dry air out of the circulation, and it should be able to do that as it moves west. Also, this is like a global model, so it might not be able to see it as well, but that's what the storm would need to do. Like, it would need to do what this thing down here is doing. Like, it needs to take disorganized thunderstorms down here. To take this disorganized mess, and then later on, as it moves, turn it into something like that before it can actually get itself going. It needs that structure, which it has over land here during its final hours. But if it's really going to strengthen, it needs that structure not right before landfall, but it needs that structure like here, so it has enough time to actually intensify. Like, it needs a structure like this or this, and then it needs a good environment to help it with that before it can do something. Speaking of which, we'll talk about this storm too. I can use the Euro model. This is just a GFS. I can use the Euro. I will back it up. Okay, the Euro still moves it west. And it's still disorganized by the time it's like 3 days out. It's still disorganized. But during its final hours, it does start to do stuff a little bit. It does start to try and close off its center to the point where it tries to get there, but it never quite gets close enough. So this will be a rainmaker. So be wary like flash flooding, but it doesn't seem like it has the time to actually develop itself and close itself off. You know, like if it had an actual like closed center like here, not like this open wave line here. If it had something more closed, kind of like that but bigger, or like this circle down here, it could do something. But if it's disorganized, it can't do a thing until it gets that fixed. It's kind of like, I will give it like an analogy. If something it doesn't have all the parts there, it's not going to work. It needs all the parts to be there before it can actually do any sort of like building up further. It needs to get the basics down, and then everything else comes on top of it. So like, kind of like, you can't build a house without the foundation. You can't build a tropical storm can't build itself without a closed circulation, and it needs, without closed circulation, thunderstorms, basically. So it needs a closed circulation, needs to close itself off, and it needs thunderstorms to help it that last longer than about 6 hours. So it needs storms here that form. These are bad, but this is a bad drawing, but it needs thunderstorms that can survive longer than 6 hours. So if it can survive longer than 6 hours, then that means it's sustained convection. So you can pull up more heat and keep the cycle going. But if that dies out within 6 hours because of dry air and other stuff, then the storm's not going to be able to build itself. So it needs to fire up its convection, it needs to close off its center, and that convection needs to stay there for a long time, even at night, and then it can start doing stuff. And then probably when it gets here, it will be more serious because it's organized. So it has enough time, like about 12, 18 hours to actually get itself together. Depending on how slow it moves. We'll look at this one, this wave out here. Look at the North Atlantic. I have these waves here. Move back. Like this. Also, sites tropical tidbits, by the way, if you guys want to look at it. You have one wave here, one wave here, one wave here. So disorganized. The Euro doesn't see the wave in the Caribbean really organizing. Doesn't seem to. There's plenty of moisture here, but it's not organizing to anything that's consolidated. It's not able to do it. You might try there, but it's not doing it. Even a storm that comes off, that the third wave doesn't do it. Like this storm right here, like this is compact. Like this is more representative of what the start of like a tropical cyclone will look like. Well, this will already be one that's formed, but look at it. This is more representative of it. It has a closed center. Center's closed. It has heavy rain, as heavy thunderstorms around it. So this is actually what a tropical system on like a weather map like this would look like. These would just be tropical waves as they're not organized enough to actually do stuff. But this is organized enough to actually strengthen enough so it can actually do something. This already has a close center by the time it comes off Africa over here, West Africa. Already has a close center. So because it already has it, it can strengthen pretty easily. Doesn't strengthen quickly by any means, but it has the center there. So when it does come off, it doesn't have a hard time strengthening. So all it really needs is just to take advantage of its environment to do stuff. So the waves could develop, but it doesn't seem like they're going to turn into much for the moment. We'll check back check back soon and see what happens. These could still do something. They'll still do something strength-wise. Wherever they move, there'll still be a hazard to shipping interests. Like if you have a boat here, like let's say like a cargo ship that departed from New York City up here, and you have to move through like here to get to a port that's in like Senegal down here. Then yeah, this is still an issue because it impacts your sea interest. It's a storm, but and even the islands, you still get rain. So if you get too much of that, you get flooding. But you won't have like a strong storm there that's gonna put out a bunch of swells and stuff like that. That's probably not gonna happen. But you'll have rain and you'll have an obstruction of shipping interest. But these shouldn't do too much for right now. You can look out in the future, past 5 days. Don't want to look out too far though. That might be interesting. It's too far out. That might be interesting. Overall, it looks interesting on the Euro, but not a lot of storms are actually forming. The tropical waves are there. They're just not doing anything, which is a good thing, because you don't want them to do anything. Look at to like hour 168. Still have those tropical waves out there. This is way too far out. It's in no man's land. Maybe another signal for another tropical storm in the Eastern Pacific. But yeah, a close center is what you're looking for on most of these storms. Maybe that wave could do something down the line. We'll see. Overall, the tropics in the Atlantic look pretty quiet at the moment. There's plenty of waves to track, but no named storms, no stuff that's like of immediate interest. But we'll check back tomorrow. The Westpac. Here there might be something interesting. Still a lot of monsoonal moisture down here. Maybe that spins up towards Japan, who knows? Doesn't seem like even in the West Pacific there's too much going on. I think that's because of the atmospheric pattern isn't favorable to anything developing in this area. All the development is happening in the Western Hemisphere at the moment because the airs are rising over here. So look from a tropics perspective, not too much from in the Atlantic side at least. Pacific side still have to deal with Hillary and stuff that might come after. On the Atlantic side, we're just waiting to see what happens at this point. Alright, well, we can go back to the United States. I'll check your weather questions, actually. What's the weather like where you are, and do you like Power Rangers Animal Force? I don't think I've seen Power Rangers Animal Force, actually. I don't think I have. The weather for where I am is like 80 degrees. 80 degrees and windy, I would say. 80 degrees and windy. This morning it was raining really hard at 6 a.m. So that's why I woke up at 6 a.m. this morning. Because the rain was super heavy. But it ended at like 7 o'clock. No, the rain didn't end at 7 o'clock. But the rain ended at 6:50. But it really was clearing outside at 7 o'clock a.m. So we'll move from this. We'll look at like heat waves. We'll probably look at this. Yeah. Fire danger in the west due to dry conditions. So I think this is due to a heat wave. Air quality from fires. Plenty of that. And then you have excessive heat warnings and heat advisories in the Great Plains due to humidity. Because the heat wave is building in. Not a heat wave is building in, but high pressure is building in over this area. Not really over this area, but it's building in over the center of the country. And there's still like a low, upper level that's here, and that's what's bringing Hillary up the coast like that, and giving us these flash flood warnings in the west. But in the center of the country, it's mainly going to be hot. And I mean hot because excessive heat warnings. This type of stuff is like heat indexes of like over like 100. Well, no, not 100, not just 100. Down here, I believe this heat index is over like 110 degrees Fahrenheit. If you want the translation in Celsius, that's about 43, 44 degrees Celsius heat indexes down here. Up farther north, it's closer to 41, 42 degrees Celsius heat indexes. But it could obviously be higher if you're in the sun. That fire watch is up here. Look at the fire watch. Let's look at that. Yeah, you have critical fire danger in eastern Washington and in northern Montana, elevated in this area. You have westerly wind over this area as well. You have westerly wind. You have a trough up here that's causing rain. So that's why the winds are increasing over here. So a higher threat for fires due to dry conditions. Yeah, the winds will move over the Cascades and cause drying. So if you guys don't know, there's a phenomenon called topographic lift. So this concept is that basically, delete this. You have a mountain range. Maybe not that high, but you have a mountain range. Moist air is coming up one side, right? And that's what causes you to have your rain. A lot of it on this side, because the warm air is being pushed up against the mountain, that's forcing it to rain. Right? So that's on one side of the mountain. On the other side of the mountain, though, the air is sinking. It's doing this. And it's getting hot as it does so. So, because of this right here, this sequence of events, as the air goes up the mountain, it loses all its moisture due to the mountain forcing it out. So that's why the rain in southeastern California is going to be very extreme, because the mountains are going to be forcing almost all the moisture that's in the air out due to it forcing it to rise into the atmosphere. But up here, the winds are blowing this way onto land from the ocean, as there's a trough up here. So as they go over the mountains, they're sinking. They're sinking in this area. Let me redraw that. They're sinking in this area. So because they're sinking, they're getting hotter. The air's getting hot like fire. It's getting hot like this. It's getting hot like fire. And it's getting dry like a bone. Or like a stick. No, not that actually. It's getting dry, so I'll just try and draw crack ground. Yeah, it's my best attempt at drawing crack ground. So this is our example of crack ground right here. Ground's cracked. So here, you're having the air's drying out because you're losing the moisture on the upper side of the mountain, and it's getting hotter. So fire can spread a lot easier because of the winds blowing down the mountain, and the fact that because it's hot and dry, there's plenty of fuel that's able to burn since the fire is easily able to start. So that's why you have these conditions in these areas. It's basically what's happening. So you'll have wet and dry thunderstorms as well over the area. So a wet thunderstorm is like what you normally expect from a thunderstorm. It's what you normally expect from a thunderstorm. So you get one of these forming. Hey Walker, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. So you get one of these that forms, so you get a thunderstorm that forms, right? Get one of these bad boys. It rains, and then that rain touches the ground. In a dry thunderstorm scenario, though, you get rain but it does not reach the ground. It rains, but then it evaporates in this area. That moistens up the air column here. So no rain gets down to the surface. But you still get the lightning. So you still get the lightning from the storm, and that can cause a fire. So, if you're going to have some dry thunderstorms in this area, it just means that you're going to have a thunderstorm, but it's not going to be raining when you're outside. You'll still get the lightning issue. So any thunderstorms that do come through likely not produce rain and can start fires. Kind of thing. So you'll get fires because of this. Because lightning tends to start fires, but it is usually when it's dry. Not usually during rainstorms. So if it rains heavy enough, rain can put out the fire. Like, if you can get, whatchamacallit, like if, let's say there was a fire here, like just saying like California, Southern California, if you got enough, like what Hillary's like doing like right now, and you got enough rain here, that would put out the fire. But lightning itself can start fires, especially if there's no rain actually hitting the surface. I just suck because you're a good teacher? Yeah. I'm trying to explain it the best I can, because I know a lot about weather terms, so I just want to like try and water it down so it makes sense. I hope. So yeah, that's why there's fire danger up here today. So I'd recommend not really working with fire if you live in this area. Well, no cigarettes, stuff like that. You don't want to drop that on the ground, that might cause a fire. Don't leave stuff that can easily burn outside, kind of thing. Look at day 2. Elevated here, dry thunderstorms here. Look at day 3. Predictability too low for fire, however. I think this is due to rain. The rain's probably what's bringing this down. What else can we look at? We look at convective outlooks. It's marginal. No severe thunderstorms are marginal in the same area. Not too much to worry about. From a thunderstorm perspective, not too much to worry about. But even in a marginal risk, I still take it seriously. Heavy rain and lightning are still a major issue. Still an issue from thunderstorms, even if they don't count under severe weather. So watch out for that. So especially even though it says like day 2, day 3, marginal or no severe weather risk. If you're like on the west, this is heavy rain that's falling. So the thunderstorms aren't strong, but it's gonna be raining hard. So that's equally as bad, if not worse, for you. All right, we'll look at the heat wave now. You're scared of storms? Why? You mean thunderstorms or just storms in general? Also, hey MGB, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Where's that 500 millibar height anomaly thing? There it is. Yeah, you guys can also go to tropical temperatures if you want to use this. So you have a large ridge that's building over the eastern part of the United States. This storm system that came over across the northeast is moving out. You have a ridge that builds in. It does build in. It's going to probably stay there for quite a while. It's getting pretty far out, but it stays there until like a trough in northeast and kind of breaks it down and then sends it west. Thunderstorms? Oh yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, thunderstorms make a lot of loud noise, especially if you get one of those really loud thunderstorms. Yeah, they can be scary. I mean, I think I had one of those in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., like not too long ago. So that was a pretty interesting experience. But yeah, you have this ridge building here. So that means, basically, if you live underneath this, most likely no rain, and the air's going to be sinking on top of you. So let's look at like one place within the ridge. Let's look at Illinois. like southern Illinois. 102 degrees. Yeah. Dew point of 68. Yeah, not good. This can usually cause heat stroke in people if you're not careful. Like, that's bad heat. And that's only 5 days out. Look at like too many temperatures shaded. Large area of just like over 90 degrees, and then a large area of over 100 too. So if you want your metric measurements, a lot of it's just like think of 100 degrees. If you're doing the metric system, just think of it as like 40 degrees Celsius or higher. Hey, something with a knife. What's going on? So think of this as just 40 degrees Celsius and higher. And for 90 to be, well, 95 to be 35 Celsius. And lower 90s to be around 30 Celsius or 31. Think of it like that. So yeah, that's going to be there. And I believe it starts early. So it's already in the deep south, Texas especially. So you go day by day, cool down in the eastern United States. It builds up into the plains on Saturday, which is tomorrow, 24 hours from now. It continues into Sunday. Get some heat in the Central Valley of California. But it doesn't cool down at night. It's still 91 degrees in Dallas in like the middle of the day. Not the middle of the day, but this is at night, I believe. Still very warm even at night, so you're not going to be able to sleep in this too well without air conditioning. Now it's mine. Puts out the clock mine. What are you guys even doing, bro? What are you guys doing? But yeah, it's going to stay warm overnight, so you're probably going to need AC if you live in like North Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. Even in these areas where it's just like 70s and then you'll still need air conditioning to get through that. Because this is unbearable. This is unbearable heat to sleep through. In Indiana, Ohio, and eastward though, it's going to be pretty comfortable at night. Even in the Intermountain West, it's going to be pretty comfortable. It builds up again on Monday. Same story. 112 in Dallas. Still high in the west, but in the higher elevation, it's going to be pretty cool. It's not going to be cold. Like up here is getting cold, but it's not going to be like. It's not going to be cold like ice cold, but it's going to be cold enough. So it should feel pretty nice in the morning. You get this heat again in the middle of the country. It expands on Tuesday. Widespread 100s over across most of the eastern United States. There is a boundary here. I believe this is due to the jet stream. It's a boundary there. So the heat isn't really across this line just yet. So if you're in Michigan, you seem pretty safe for now. Heat continues. It just continues over time. Even on day 7, it extends more east, but it's not as intense farther north. And you start to get a cool down in the northern Midwest, the northern plains and northern Midwest, as you get a cold front that comes down and takes out some of the heat. And then this heat wave, or the heat, builds back west to do it all over again. But the seasons are changing as September's coming around. So heat waves are going to be less and less common, and you're going to see a lot more of this cold air coming down. Eventually to the point where I checked like the moisture map. If I check the moisture map, we'll just take it out from like now to then. You have some dry air over the eastern United States. It keeps getting filled in by humid air. But you're going to start seeing less and less of this, especially towards the end of the month. This is far out, but the seasons are definitely changing as this warm high dew points aren't coming as far north. Before they were constant. You might get some interbrief periods of like rest, but it keeps returning. As the month continues, less and less moisture is going to continue to pool up into the country, and it's going to be more pleasant as dry air comes in. We used to give it Pulau Nuke, stop down Ohio. What are you guys doing? Like, actually. This is a weather stream. What are you guys doing? I didn't say it was a roleplay stream. Guess you guys can do you, though. For now. But yeah. Seems to get less humid over time as well, so. We'll see how that goes. Now, for fall, it seems to be that the temperatures, at least released by the Climate Prediction Center, it looks to be warm over a good amount of the country. Not like a high chance of above normal, but the southwest and the northeast above normal. And the southeast, wetter than normal. It could be from either the jet stream or it could be from hurricanes. Could be either or. I would bet that this could be some hurricanes coming through. 6 to 10 day outlook's going to be hot in the south. I mean, below average up here, where I live. Like right there. It's going to rain more too. But if you live underneath this ridge, hot. Hot, hot. Hot, hot, and not a lot of rain either. We'll get rid of that. Excessive heat. Excessive heat high in the south for late August, August 26th. It's about a week from now. And you still have more excessive heat encompassing areas around that. So the same story on an 8 to 14 day outlook. It's going to be raining more in the northwest, so we'll see how that goes. Temperature pattern. Next 3 to 4 weeks is going to be warmer in the south. About normal everywhere else. Below normal in this area of like Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, northeast Nevada, and like northwest Utah. And then some warmth along the Pacific coast of the northwest. Now, U.S. drought monitor, things to happen. Drought will probably could get removed in these areas. I don't see any drought that could be building in to California really. Like maybe Northern California, up according to this, because the Pacific Northwest hasn't been getting a lot of rain. But due to Hillary, I believe that California in this general area, the Southwest, is going to have a good amount of water to work with for a little bit of time. Also, some drought removal likely in the Midwest. It's going to improve for most people, but it's not going to go away. And you're probably going to get a flash drought in the south, well, eastern Southwest and the Southern Plains in Louisiana due to a lack of rainfall. Now, a tropical system like what the one that's on the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos is right now in Cuba. If that gets over here, that can help the issue because that will bring plenty of rain to these areas. It won't fix the drought, but it will help it out. Help people get through it. And we'll look at global tropics. There's a small chance that something develops in the West Pacific next week, but there's a bigger chance at the end of the month. There's also a chance of something forming south of Mexico. Caribbean's going to be wetter next week. Chance of something in the Gulf of Mexico. Chance of something in the MDR. Another chance in the MDR the week after that, 2 weeks from now. Something off the west coast of Mexico. And a greater chance of some type of a typhoon-like system forming in the West Pacific. And in a lot of areas, there's a lot of below average. There's a good amount of below average areas for precipitation, especially over Northern South America, Central America, this area. So maybe the Pacific has some sort of like delay. Not a delay, I would say a lull in activity because it's not as much rain. Could be that. El Nino is still doing its thing, but this is not going to help the Eastern Pacific produce storms. There's not going to be a lot of rain here. But I hope you guys enjoyed the weather update. I think it was useful to mention. Also, yeah, heavy rain thing. Heavy rain. And then later on, like Andrew Moore on Twitter. And it's favorable right now, but down the line, the Pacific seems to be doing better. So this might inhibit the Atlantic later on. And yeah, we'll be doing this challenge tomorrow, by the way. We'll try. And that's it. For the weather update, go to Linktree. You guys can go get my stuff. Go get all the links you guys want. How do you know if a thunderstorm is ending? Usually you can tell if a thunderstorm is ending if the rain rate is slowing down. If the rain rate is slowing down, that usually means the thunderstorm is ending. And if you're not hearing lightning as often. That's how you can usually tell if a thunderstorm's ending. If the rain was initially heavy, but it's starting to decrease. That's how you can tell. That number one. You usually have a heavy rain on a thunderstorm because it rolls right in. Then, as the heavy rain continues, it's starting to slowly lighten up until you get moderate rain for a good amount of time, and then the storm moves out as it clears. Or you get another storm that forms behind it. That forms behind it, like this. I'll draw something. Like you have a storm here. It's bad. The storm that's like here. It's moving. Say it's like this shape on a radar. And it's moving this way. You get the heavy rain first. You get the wind. You get the heavy rain. Then you get the light rain, and then the storm is gone. You still have to watch out for lightning. And make sure it's like 30 minutes after the storm when it's safe to do activities. That's usually what's going to happen. The storm comes through. It rains hard for 15-30 minutes, and then it slowly goes out as you get light rain, and then the weather clears out. If it's like a normal like pop-up thunderstorm in like the tropics, not the same logic goes by that, but you get a thunderstorm, it forms over you. It can sit over you for a long time, and it doesn't have the same like format, but you can tell it's ending when the rain starts to lighten up. Usually, most of the time. The only real exception to this is if you're in a hurricane, because if you're in a hurricane, there's going to be constant thunderstorms. Really, because there's always an endless supply of storms forming. So you'll have thunderstorms on the out ring. You probably won't have them on the second ring. And if the hurricane's really intense, you'll see them inside the eye wall. So that's my answer to your question. I hope I answered it well. So now I think I'll get to Splatoon, but I gotta switch to OBS and do some other stuff real quick. So I'll be with you guys in like a minute. Just give me like some time to actually recuperate and do stuff I have to do. Alright. We're here. Woo! Ah. Big tired. Once again. But yeah, Big Swig's minimum if you hit all of them without the enemy healing is 3. So it takes 3 shots to kill someone if they're not healing. At minimum. At maximum it's 1 shot if you're not arm's length from them, but if you're like short range shooter length from them. Wait, is this thing even plugged in? I know it is. Yes, Splatoon 3. I'm yawning as I play this game. Oh, she's still in Splat 2. Oh yeah, we can do that. I feel tired again, I don't know why. Oh, I can get rid of the pen app now. DMs? Okay. I'm checking them right now. Okay. Scene 7. Alrighty. Anyone else want to play FNAF? And it might not have access to your room, bro. You might want to put like your friend code or something in the chat, or just use the pool. Cause I don't think they can actually join you. Wait, chat's inactive? What? What, bro? Dog. Nah, bro, what happened? No, you actually have gotta be kidding me. No, there's no way. My chat doesn't even work now? Bugging, bro. Chat is bugging. No. That's crazy. Can't even use chat now. Yeah, I can't even use chat now because it doesn't want to work. Bit unfortunate. Unfortunate. Yeah, I can't even see my own chat right now. I'm forced to stare down my phone because I can't check my own chat. Got you. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what's going on here. This game gotta fix itself. Yeah. I want my live chat back, bro. Give me back my live chat. Because stuff isn't working clearly. There you go, it's back. I can send you guys a link tree. Right up the wall we go. Dang it, I died. It's unfortunate. There's a beacon near August Smith, Freddy's and Freddle. Interesting. I don't see you half the time. I might be tired, that's fine. That's what it might be. Yeah, I'm tired right now. god. No, I don't want to have like that sudden like tiredness. That's bad for me. Like, dude, I'm feeling like a sharp amount of like tiredness just rushing through my back right now. I need sleep of some kind. I'm not getting it. No. Alright, got it. Nah, I still did worse. Alright, let's do this. Oh my god, what am I doing? Okay. I should probably get sleep and then come back to this later. I am tired right now. Yeah, I'm tired right now. I need to get sleep. to compensate for the fact that I only got 5 hours of sleep earlier. Okay, I probably should not have done that. But yeah, I'll probably sleep just after this, because I need it. Yeah, I'm gonna sleep just after this match. Alright, that's good. Alright, got him. Still, we said to run out overtime. Okay, I got shot. Alright, I think that's easy. Alright, I'm gonna stop streaming because I need to sleep a little bit. But I'll try to stream later. Yeah, I gotta sleep. Okay. I'll try and be back in like 2 hours and do some stuff for you guys. Hopefully, guys, you enjoyed the short stream. But I gotta be back here. I'll be back in 2 hours to complete it. Getting tired and then getting to sleep, so I'll sleep right now and then come back.